Hello and welcome, friends, to the new course, The Birds, where I'm going to help you create a pair of birds, but also learn a fabulous technique for creating colorful backgrounds where you can add whatever figures of your own choice that you want to make. So I'm beginning here with my Inktense Derwent sticks, color sticks, and I'm just doing some random mark making to get started and really activate my paper. You can also use colored pencils, woody 3-in-1 pencils, watercolor. You could add your marks using various things that are water-based. So I'm just, again, loosely applying some color here, just really having fun. I don't have a plan as far as where the marks go. I'm going to activate them with paint. So some of them will be a little visible as they mix with the paint, and then others may be hidden under the layers that come later. So just have some fun and play loosely. I am using a brighter palette here, but you can guide your color choices to what you desire. So if you want yours to be more muted or pastel, or if you want to go with deeper jewel tones, certainly feel free to do that. This piece that I've created, as you can tell, is quite vivid. All right, I'm finishing up here with my marks, and I'm going to get straight to the paint. And I'm using a combination of liquid, fluid, and heavy body acrylics. So you use whatever you have on hand. A craft paint would be awesome too. I've got teal, green gold, a cadmium yellow medium that's by Nova. And I'm just putting a dab out on my paper plate. I love to work on a paper plate palette when I'm working at my table. It's easy and fun to mix on. And so it tends to stay wetter than a lot of times a paper palette. Then I have some light phthalo blue here. And some fluorescent pink. If you have any fluorescent handy, red, pink, magenta, orange, it's fun to have a fluorescent in the palette, especially when creating something this vivid. It can really make some of your colors pop. Just a little mix of it with your colors is nice to add. So I've got some Peroli red and then some orange. and then some quinacridone magenta, or it could be quinacridone violet there. So I've got a nice assortment here on my palette that I can mix with. And now I've also got some number 811. It's a beautiful green made by Abstract. It's an abstract color by Sennelier. So great, great green. I love that color. Now I'm working with, I've got a few favorite brushes picked out. I love filberts. I don't want to go too small here. It's better to have a brush that will really give you some blending. But you could use a bright or a flat or a filbert, but mostly something that's wide enough to really get some blending going on your paper. And that's what I'm aiming for here at the beginning, is just to kind of do some color mixing. I've got titanium white, and I'm going to put some of that there on my palette. And this is a wonderful blue. I believe this is a permanent light blue, a Liquitex color. They have a beautiful, brilliant blue as well, but it's much deeper. Yeah, and I'm adding a little bit of a blue there as well. It looks like a manganese blue. So I'm going to start working where my color marks are kind of leading me into my pattern. You can see I'm going blue on blue marks. And you don't have to follow that super close, but I do like the way that it gives me a kind of a guide. And I'm just daubing. I've got a nice mix here of the light blue and the medium and then a white. And I'm just building in a base layer here. Really having fun. You should be having fun with this. And you'll notice how some of the Inktense color is kind of showing through, and it's also activating with the paint. So that's giving us this just beautiful mix of color rather than one single color, showing up. It's giving us that nice blend. A lot of times too, rather than washing my brush out each time I add some new color, I really do just pick up, I may work most of the paint out of the brush and then pick up another color and start to blend in with it. And as you do that, of course, you want to be careful. If I get up there in the greens and the reds, I'm going to make brown. But as long as I'm working with the complementary colors and I'm going from a blue to a teal to a green, I can really make some beautiful blending by using the same brush and not washing it out. Then every so often, as we change the color, like I just did, we'll need to wash it out so that we can pick up something really bright and come in without it getting muddy. And I'm just staying here with the family of colors, moving over now into the deeper, what will become the purples and the reds over here. Take your time and just enjoy this process. This is really the fun part of creating this piece. Now, as I've started in with that dark purple, I'm beginning to pick up some of the red and some of the magenta and just layering over and over. I'm working while this is mostly wet. It does tend to become tacky fairly quick because I'm working on a paper. I'm just working on a Strathmore mixed media paper, but as as the paint's applied, it does tend to get tacky fairly quick because of the absorbency of the paper. So I'm not just making a mushy mud here. It is actually, you're able to go back this section, for example, on the right that has the teals and the greens. While I'm working over here in the bottom left corner, this section on the right is drying and becoming tacky. So as I come back over it with another layer, I won't be creating mud. And you'll notice too how I'm not keeping these colors, especially these reds and oranges, I'm not keeping them in one quadrant of the painting. I am applying some up at the top and as I go down through the middle, and that's how I'm going to get that overall flow in the finished piece. Now this is a beautiful coral mix here, and I'd like to share how I make this color. But it is a medium orange, a light magenta pink, and then I add some fluorescent magenta or some fluorescent pink to the mix. And it just makes a brilliant coral color if you like coral. That's an example of using that fluorescent to really make a color that pops. And it also blends nicely with the oranges and reds and softens that area up. So I like to reach down and pull that down into the bottom left as well. Now I have a layer of paint on virtually the entire page, and I'm bringing in this bright, wonderful yellow to add the lighter parts here. And I'm going to apply it up in the top left corner, but also you see with the greens and the teals, so that we get that movement throughout the piece and don't have just areas of color that stand out and stand alone and don't flow together. So I'm just daubing that yellow around and working through. About the time you think you're finished, when you have a layer of paint on the paper, you realize that you're just actually getting to the place where you're going to do some finishing touches, but you're not done quite yet. At this point, I'm wanting to bring out a little more of the blues and the teals. So I'm going to come in here and bring in and make it even a bit lighter. So some of that light blue and maybe some of the teal. And notice how I'm pulling that into the area of the pinks and the greens. So really at this point, I am just creating a flow across the piece by overlapping and layering. Here I've pulled out a light ultramarine blue, which is just a lovely periwinkle kind of color that blends a purple and a blue. And I'm adding some touches of that to blend in to my area of purple and blue toward the bottom and the bottom right. Notice too how I'm adding just some small accents of the color up to the middle. And here might be where you would grab a smaller brush and do a few little marks that you want to just highlight some color with. All right, so I'm adding my very last touches here, and this is arriving. I'm at a finished point. Just kind of sit back and take a look at your piece and see if you need to add any finishing touches, and then we're going to let this piece dry completely before we go forward with any work. Here's an image I chose off of Google just to inspire me, and I'm not copying it exactly, but just to inspire me with my pair of birds for my paper. And I'm working on the dry painted surface now using a graph gear pencil, and I'm just going to sketch in the outline of my shapes and the little branch that the birds are sitting on. Again, this background is good for so many designs, so feel free to do whatever you want. All right, I have the outline of my birds finished on my page, and now I'm ready to paint white around the design, and I'm using an angle brush here. If you have one, it's quite nice to get a sharp edge on your design. So I have a few of those, and I'm just using one to paint, and then a mixture of whites. So I have a zinc white, which is quite transparent, and then you have a titanium white. I have a titanium white liquid and a titanium white heavy body that are more opaque. And this is really up to you what you decide to use here. I have done one page with the more transparent, and it shows more of the color through. You can also add acrylic glazing, and that will make the transparency more in your paint too. So whatever you want to use with the whites. And then I've got a mix of a Mars yellow and a nickel azo gold for my branch. I'm going to mix up, like I said, a few of these whites, and that really is a personal preference of how much color you want showing. I have a journal page that I had done with a single bird, and it had more of the color showing through. So just personal preference. Feel free to play around with it, and you can always add more white and make it more opaque if you want. So I'm going to take my angle brush, and I'm just going to work around the design, turn your page as needed so that you can get a nice sharp line around your design. And I will probably speed this process up for you so that you don't have to watch every stroke here. Now with the white done, I've got some Mars yellow and a transparent nickel azo gold to paint my branch. And I chose that because I want the color to show through on the branch too. I don't really want it a solid opaque brown. So I'm just painting in my branch here. You could also add some leaves here, some beautiful leaves, and have some green wash over your leaves. That might be fun in the background as well. Now I'm ready to take my Posca paint pen and start outlining the bird and adding a few defining marks. You could use jelly roll pens for this, or some other types of paint pens, but I am using the Uniposca paint pens. I love working with those. They're super fun and work great on a painted, very textured painted surface like I have here. And I am taking my pencil and marking where I want the eyes to be, just so that I have that sketched in and can work around that. Then going ahead and coloring in the eyes with the Posca paint pen, and these eyes are going to be black with a red pupil. Makes them really stand out. And they do have a little black mask, so I'm going to do that with the Posca pens as well. And I'm taking my Posca pen, adding a few feather shapes around the tail, and I am outlining the branch as well. The red Posca paint pen wasn't quite bright enough for me for the eyes going over the black here, so I'm going to use a little bit of a pearly red liquid acrylic and put in here over the eyes for the pupils, and it really pops. It stands out, so I like that. Now taking the white Posca pen and adding some little feathery marks around the face. And I'll continue for a few minutes here to add little details to the face and the head, just getting it the way that I like it and having fun getting them where they really stand out on the page. I love their little masks, but I also want their eyes to stand out even more. So I'm going to take a fluorescent pink jelly roll pen here and outline around their eyes. I like how that really makes their eyes show up. Then it's time to take your black and white pen and add some details to the eye, a little highlight in the corner of the eye so that they really look like they're looking at you. And now it's time to sketch in some feet with a Posca paint pen. Since our birds aren't in flight, they're holding on to the branch, and I've just done some really fun, loose little feet. I don't want to paint them in too solid and heavy. They're just lightly sketched. Now you have the option to add some more detail with paint pens if you want. Certainly we've got enough color going on. I don't think you need to, but I want to demonstrate it anyhow. And I'm taking a light blue, kind of a teal paint pen here and just adding some marks along with some black and white marks as well. Again, these are optional. And now I'm adding just a few last touches with my Posca pens. I thought they need a little tuft of feathers above their beaks. So now's the time to take a look and add whatever details you want, and think about signing your work, and you can spray it with a fixative. And I hope that you're able to hang it in a place of honor in your home or share it as a gift for a friend. And I hope that you've enjoyed it and enjoyed learning new techniques that you can put into use in creating some of your own artwork as well. Be sure to share your artwork or send me photos, and catch me on Instagram at Janet Skates Art or on YouTube at Janet Skates Art as well. Thank you.